Welcome one, welcome all to the latest community episode with all of our community members. We are now hanging out to talk about games. And today I am doing this myself to kind of get in preparation for this weekend where Luke, who is abandoning me, is going to be going down to LA, which is just a few short hours, and is going to be taking hands-on with games for sure, talking to a lot of developers, and generally just kind of enjoying the E3 Xbox kind of showcase, whatever it is called now. Luke, are you excited? Are you packed yet?
I'm not packed. I'm gonna do laundry tomorrow. I'm gonna go get new shoes tomorrow probably. But yeah, I'm very excited. I'm nervous. I have everything planned out in a way that is not typical for me because I'm not a planner by nature, but there's so much that needs to be accomplished while doing this trip to make it everything that I've actually had to use my calendar extensively. I'm excited for the hands-on stuff that I'm going to get to play with. I'm excited to meet some of the people I get to meet. And I'm hopeful that it pans out well. I'm grateful to everybody because this is our community episode. If not for this community, I wouldn't be going.
Yeah.
So I'm truly honored and appreciative on that front.
Yeah, I know it's going to be an awesome time, and I'm sure you're going to have a really good time with it as well too. So also with us, we have Silkenit. Silkenit,
hello everyone.
How you doing?
Doing good. Big week.
It's a big week.
It's a lot to follow every showcase. Like it started today with some indie showcase that were like 3 hours long just of trailers.
Yeah.
I haven't even seen them all yet.
I know.
And it's going to continue up to when's the last one? Is Ubisoft Monday?
I think it's Ubisoft Forward or the PC showcase.
I think the PC showcase is
just after Xbox. No.
Okay, so it's Ubisoft.
I think is Monday.
Yeah.
So yeah, we still have a bit to go through.
I'm not going to that one. I'm flying back Monday.
I don't blame you.
But I do get to play the cool space game that Ubisoft is making. I'm excited about that.
What are they making?
Star Wars Outlaws.
Oh, I thought there was like another one coming out. I was like, are we getting that one that was like the Squadrons? Like, are we getting a sequel that I just didn't hear about today?
No, I'm just being cheeky.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Also with us, we have Rick D. Rick, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good. How you guys doing?
Good. Just kind of enjoying the start of the show. I have not, unfortunately, it's been fires today at work, so I haven't gotten to check out anything. I haven't even really gotten to touch what has been going on today. So I'm looking forward to catching up on all of the announcements today. Also with us is Chris 1H1D. Chris, how you doing, man?
Hey, I'm doing all right. How are you all doing? I'm just like you guys, super excited about this week. I can't wait to hear all the good gaming stuff. So
yeah, definitely. So I wanted to kind of check in with everyone because this is going to be our last episode before we actually get the showcase. So I wanted to get a gauge on where everyone's at as far as hype wise goes, how you're feeling about it. But also to kind of hear what your top 3 is as far as stuff that you want to kind of see. But before we get into that, I wanted to give an opportunity for us to do what we usually do and come together and kind of talk about a little bit what we've been playing, to kind of kick things off and see if there's anything that you've been playing that you've really enjoyed that you wanted to talk about and have that opportunity to just kind of share a little bit of what you've been enjoying during this week. So Luke, I know it's been a lot of Gigabash, right? Mm-hmm. From you, but you've also been jumping to some other stuff just based on the Let's Talk that you had earlier today. What do you got for as like a things that people should kind of check out?
Yeah, it is a lot of Gigabash because it's just a fun kaiju vibe with Godzilla -1 and Godzilla Cross Kong kind of being popular, and then the Godzilla DLCs in there. So that's been fun to play that and kind of be in that zone. But last night, after some great Warzone matches with Daddy D Wally from the Nerd Chat and Kev, our buddy Kev,
Yeah.
We had some great Warzone matches. Clint Combs was with us for a few of
Saw
them.
that.
Yeah, we got top was 4th in Warzone, and then I think we did Resurgence and we won that one, which was cool. Really fun experience there. But then I jumped into Street Fighter 6 and Crew Motorfest and
Yeah.
just went back in. Those are 2 games that I really like a lot. I love the color palettes in them. For some reason, they're just happy, fun games that just like after Hellblade, a very intense experience. After COD, which even in Resurgence, that's like a focused in like there. You can get sweaty in Street Fighter, but I'm very casual with it. I just had a blast with Street Fighter 6 playing as Akuma, who was my main in Street Fighter 4. 6 feels like 4 in a lot of ways now with some of the characters that are in there. I just love Street Fighter, and so I had a blast with 6. And then Crew Motorfest, man, I really can't say enough good about it. I've tweaked some of my visual settings, so I'm getting the best out of it in the HDR modes and stuff, and I'm having a blast with it. So those are I do want to encourage people to check out Gigabash because it's cheap and affordable and it's fun and goofy. But Street Fighter with its character pass is solid, and the go-to, I think, for every Xbox fan. If you're watching this show, you've probably played Forza Horizon. If you need more of that, Crew Motorfest, I would say, does everything on par with Horizon. There's nothing in Horizon that is better than Crew Motorfest or vice versa in any egregious amount, in anything out of the standard deviation. So check them out if you're interested.
Yeah, I really, it's been tempting to check out Gigabash just because you've been talking about it. I recently watched Godzilla -1 on Netflix, and I don't know. I think it was because of how I was watching it that I just didn't really connect with it. But I think they did a pretty good job with the film as far as like a technical standpoint. Like I thought it was really interesting to watch.
Yeah, like a $15 million budget, which is very small.
That's very small. Now that
To
you
see it
mention
doing so well. And Gigabash is more your cross-Kong, crazy, bombastic, like everything, big monsters fighting, whereas -1's a horror movie. Well, it's a Jaws movie. It's like Jaws.
I never thought about it that way, but you're right. It is a lot like a Jaws movie.
Yeah.
All right. So jumping in, Silking It, have you been jumping into stuff? What have you been playing lately?
Lately, well, Diablo 4 a lot.
Yeah.
So I finally managed to have my first level 100 character, the Barbarian. I started this season, and I started the Necromancer and the Sorcerer. So
good. That's the right way to go about it.
Yeah, I'm not the one like to push like at level 100 like all the high-end content because it's a lot of time. I prefer just to see what they do with everything.
Yeah.
And on my big recommendations this week, Lorelei and the Laser Eyes.
I see. Okay. So what kind of game is this?
It's a puzzle game. It's a kind of detective game. You have a lot of math and logic puzzles to piece the story together. And it's a really unique art style. It's all black and white with touches of neon pink and red.
Cool.
They really do something good with the story and all the puzzles.
And where are you playing this at?
I play that on PC. I'm not sure it's out on console for that one.
Gotcha.
It should be because it's you have just one button. Any button is the input, and you control the character with a joystick. So really
interesting.
Let me check quickly.
Very cool.
And 9 Souls.
9 Souls. All right. So
which is a Metroidvania with a kind of a Sekiro combat. It's all parry based.
Oh wow.
So the parry recharges your kind of a talisman, so like a bomb that you can plant on people and make them explode. It's
very interesting.
It's a really dynamic combat, and it's I think it's all end drawn too, so it's really pretty.
That's awesome. And were you talking to Rick about you guys were both playing this? Rick, you jumping into this as well? Chris, have you jumped in at all?
Yeah, actually, I had picked it up at Sokenit's suggestion because, but I never heard of it actually until he was talking about it.
Yeah.
And I looked it up and I'm like, this kind of reminds me a bit of Hollow Knight. And well, we all know how I feel about Hollow Knight, so I checked it out and he was right. I mean, I'm pretty early. I know he finished it today or whatever, but for what I played, I really like it. It's definitely kind of a decent, like, smaller scale Hollow Knight. It's nowhere near as big as that, but what I play, I really do like. And like he said, it's quite beautiful. I was on Clint's show, Spreading the Nerd, last week, and I had mentioned it because he asked what it was, and I said after Sokenit had mentioned it, I looked it up, and it said like an action platformer based in I think he called it like Tau Punk world, and I'm like, what on earth is that? And so as far as I could tell, what that kind of means is it's like a cyberpunk-esque, like mythological Chinese-ish setting. It's pretty neat.
Mm-hmm.
If you look it up, you can see you kind of play as, like, I think he's a cat. Yeah, that's kind of what he looks like. But everything has a real
people.
Makes sense. 9 lives.
Yeah. Well, that's not actually what that means, I don't think. But
what?
How
can you make a game with someone that looks like a cat?
Because there's technically 10 of these apparently.
Yeah, there are 10.
Yeah. You are the 10th. You're going after 9 other ones is what the title means. But
interesting. Okay.
But yeah, if you ever look up like screenshots, it has, like he said, a real nice hand drawn style. And again, it really is reminiscent of various different forms of like mystical, like Eastern things, and it's a pretty interesting thing, and it's something I'd never really seen before, so it's pretty neat.
I'll just add, if you jump into 9 Souls, be careful of the warning at the start, the content warning.
Oh, really?
They do tell you there is violence in that game, a lot, and blood and gore, so it's pretty, but it's the story is dark. Some piece of actions, like some cinematics, are really gruesome too. So yeah, just be mindful. The Red Candles, the devs, their first game was a horror game, Devotion, I think, and a second game, Horror 2, was pulled out of Steam because it's the one that referred to the Chinese president,
Jinping.
Yeah, as Winnie the Pooh, and so the Chinese went after them, and they pulled from Steam. They tried to come back and put it on GOG. GOG pulled the plug too, so you can't play that game anymore. So yeah, now Taiwanese dev, so there's no lost love with Chinese.
Where I am, since I'm still pretty early, I haven't seen much of that. I saw one minor little scene that was somewhat violent, I guess, but outside of killing enemies and they kind of like turning into like chunks, I haven't seen much, but I know he said there's definitely a good bit of that. Where I am, outside of hunting down these other 9 souls, I have no idea what the heck's going on, so
that's wild.
It has to be a reference to cat lives, though. 9? He looks like a cat. It's got to be some sort of reference.
I'm telling you,
there's
10. You are
10
the 10th.
souls.
You're hunting down the other 9, so.
And this is called 9 lives.
Souls.
9 souls.
Oh, 9 souls. Okay.
But it's SOL. Yeah, there's no U in it.
Yeah.
Souls, like as in like the sun.
Yeah, kind of. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that gets even weirder now.
Yeah, the description even says it's a 2D Sekiro inspired.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Now that I have the right name, that is most definitely looks like a cat. Very interesting.
Yeah, he has like a Chinese-ish robe and stuff like that on and everything. And I think he's using a sword, but it's kind of hard to tell because it kind of like protrudes out of his hand. It's kind of weird.
That's cool. It looks beautiful. Holy cow. You weren't kidding. And it looks like it's got skill-based trees. Yeah. Wow. This kind of I can't think of the name, but there was a game that came out probably about 3 or so years ago, where you had to help like people kind of ferry their souls around. And Spiritfarer, yeah, that was an amazing game. The animation and graphics kind of remind me of Spiritfarer. Obviously not like the same type of game, but as far as like the quality of animation, definitely looks very fluid.
And
Oh, yeah,
what's
it's
kind of
stable.
neat is, despite the like hand-drawn style, the way that the animation works, it almost works more like sprite based, because like it's not it doesn't fluidly animate, if that makes sense. Like it kind of transitions between like flat images, which it looks really good and really striking in motion.
Yeah, it does. Looks really interesting. Luke, have you checked this out at all?
No.
It's a Metroidvania style with like 2D skies. I think you'd probably get a kick at it. That's like your genre this year.
So I was working on back-end producing. Tell me the name once more, if you don't mind.
Nine Souls, SOLS.
Souls. I kept looking up 9 Lives.
So did I.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, if you check that out.
This does look like my kind of game. You're right. This looks like something I would enjoy.
It's only on PC right now, but they said it is coming to PlayStation and Nintendo platforms, which I assume means the Nintendo successor, because they did not say the Switch.
By Rekindle Games.
Interesting.
Rekindles, yes.
Okay, I'm gonna follow them on the old Twitterverse, and
yeah, I think you'd probably get a kick out of that.
Okay, cool. Yeah,
All
sorry,
right.
I was doing back end production stuff.
No, you're totally fine. I called it out just because I know I know that that's been like your kick this year, and you hadn't popped up with any comments, so I was like, I wanted to check in with you.
We've been lucky because Tales of Kenzera was really good. We had
Prince of Persia.
That's right. Someone in our Discord a few days ago was talking about Prince of Persia Rogue, or Rogue Prince of Persia.
Yep. I tried that too. Yeah, it's good.
It was Chris.
Yeah.
Okay. I find that art style so offensive. I think it looks terrible. And
God.
I'm saying that to hopefully eat crow and be like, I was so wrong, because I think it's one of those games based on y'all's recommendation that once you go hands-on, your experience changes, right? At least that's how because I just look and I'm like, this doesn't look flattering after playing Kenzera and even Prince of Persia. Yeah, and Lost Crown. And so I'm totally willing to check it out and hopefully be quite wrong. I'm not rooting against it. I think that I don't want that to be misunderstood.
Yeah, but it's also early access. It's early access.
How early access?
It's not ADs to early access.
Gotcha. Okay, so it's not like it's done, but not quite.
I also don't know if it's a Metroidvania, because it is a roguelite.
It's a roguelite.
Yeah. So it's quite a bit different than what
it's kind of Dead Cells,
Oh.
but with a Prince of Persia movements. You run across the walls like horizontally, vertically. You vault above people. You don't dash through them. So it's a Prince of Persia, but it's a roguelite.
I can't do the roguelike ones. That's just it bugs me too much to lose progress. I'm like, I need the time investment.
Yeah, well, you don't really lose progress.
It's
a roguelite. It's not a roguelike. You don't lose everything. You have a meta progression.
We gotta come up with like different names for these.
No,
like
they're really clear.
They are clear, but they are too similar.
Okay.
It's too easy to lose light and like in when you're talking about it. It's like we need a different.
Well, bear in mind, roguelikes almost don't even exist anymore.
No,
almost everything is a roguelite nowadays.
It just goes to show how bad that genre was.
I'm with you, Logan. I'm not a big fan of those styles of games, but the soundtrack in it is like amazing, and it keeps me going to want me to keep doing runs just to hear the music.
Yeah,
so
something I could listen to on Spotify then.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah,
you have it on YouTube. You can,
and it's on YouTube. Yeah.
On YouTube.
Nice.
And then the other thing about it is like to Luke's point about it not looking great. I agree. There's definitely it does look a little unfinished, but in motion it looks pretty good. And yeah, just fighting the boss over and over again. I actually just beat the boss today. So I was like, yes, I finally got further in the game, but
awesome.
Platforming and everything in this game feels really good, feels really like tight so far. So it's been good.
That's not the only game Chris has been playing, I do want to say. You did play Hellblade.
Well, I want to. So I know we kind of like dipped into Nine Souls here, but I wanted to make sure Silkenit and Rick, because we didn't even get to Rick as far as like what he played. But Silkenit, was there anything else before we go on to Rick?
No, that's it. Well, I finished Albeit 2 since last month, but yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so Rick, you have been, I'm sure, playing a bunch of games.
Yeah, well, having now finished Rebirth, I'm kind of bouncing off things to see what fits. So I think it was about 2 weeks ago, I did. Yeah, it was a long weekend. I did pound through and finish the original Hellblade, since I had never actually done so, with the intention of playing Hellblade 2, which I did for all of a half hour and then went and did something else. So I'll eventually get back to that. But right now, the stuff that I've been primarily playing, as we mentioned, Nine Souls, I kind of started back up in Wo Long because I bounced off of that relatively quickly. I liked it, but I don't remember. Something came out, I think, and I ended up putting it on the back burner.
Yeah.
And then so I've been playing. Actually, I played a good bit of that. I think over the weekend. And then actually last week, I think it was, Lords of the Fallen got its I believe final update, and I was like, all right, let's see how this is.
Now
it ended up grabbing me pretty good. Not well, I have it on PlayStation, so I'm not playing on Game Pass, but
get out of here. Call them beers.
Yeah, because I did get that when it first came out. I wanted to compare it. I have it on, like I said, PlayStation. I think I heard the PC version was a mess too, so I can't confirm how that is. But the PlayStation version is substantially better than what it was at launch. Performance is definitely better, and they've added a whole bunch of new stuff. There was a bunch of like cross game promotions. There's one with Lies of P. Like, you actually have like his initial sword and stuff like that. I think there actually might have been something with Wo Long, but I don't know what you get for that. But this update also added like a boss rush mode, which is interesting because Souls games don't often have something like that. I didn't mess with it just because I'm not far enough into fought most of the bosses yet, but I was pretty impressed with how much better it was. And then at launch, the game had a something that a lot of veteran Souls players definitely had a nagging issue with it was it's very strange targeting prioritization. Yeah, which is obviously a big deal in a game like that.
Yeah.
It initially, I want to say it focused on what was in the center of your screen as opposed to necessarily what was closest to you.
Yeah.
So I think you can see why that could certainly become an issue, especially since when you're in for those who don't know, Lords of the Fallen's, I don't want to call it a gimmick because it's actually built around the idea, but it's two parallel worlds. You have like the world of the living, which is, I believe it was called Axiom, and the world of the dead, which is Umbra.
I liked the first one. Is this remake or sequel?
No, it has nothing to do with the original one. It's just it uses the name. It has. I think there's some very minor like lore connections, but in reality, it has nothing to do with it. It's like thousands of years later.
Interesting. Okay.
Like, I actually did not really care for the original one that much. I thought it was, I forget the name of the team that made that, but it was like their first attempt at a Souls game, and they've gotten much better. But I didn't actually like that one very much. But so the idea of this is you have like the world of the living and the world of the dead, and they actually, part of the reason why the game is only on PS5, Xbox Series consoles as opposed to last gen is because both realms are running simultaneously. So if you die, you get 2 lives essentially. You come back in Umbra, but also when you walk around, you have this lantern, and using the lantern, you actually can see exactly what's in Umbra at the time, and there are mechanics built around that. Like, you'll see a gate or something like that in Axiom that you can't get past, but if we bring it up, it's gone. You can walk through it, and sometimes you actually have to intentionally take yourself into Umbra because maybe there's like a bridge or something like that you know what, you get the idea.
Yeah.
And it's actually a really cool mechanic. But it
didn't we have that like back in 2020? Wasn't there a game? Was it Medium?
Well, the difference is this game's good. Medium was terrible.
Whoa.
but it's no, that's not really a very hot take. That's a pretty
Look, it was a new gen game. Like, it was amazing. Yeah. Whatever you're talking about, I never played.
Yeah, it was not good. Let's put it that way. But you're right. It's a similar idea. Although I believe in Medium you could bounce back and forth at will. Well, in Lords of the Fallen you can go to Umbra at will, but you cannot go back to Axiom at will. You actually have to find something or go to what's effectively the game's version of a bonfire or something like that, right?
Huh.
But you also, there's advantages to being an Umbra. Like the longer you're in there, you actually build up like an experience multiplier. But the longer you are in there, the more it throws enemies at you that are just constantly, like, they're usually weak at first, but they start to get harder and harder and harder.
Yeah.
So you can't stay there forever because it'll eventually just
Interesting.
overwhelm you.
Yeah.
So that's a long way
There's
of getting
kind
to
of
what I
mini
was
boss
saying,
too.
which is when it first launched, it was almost ridiculous. Like you will get swarmed so bad that even the best Souls players were having a hard time with it sometimes. So
Gotcha.
they did change that a little bit, but with the targeting issue, you can see where that was a problem because you're getting swarmed and couldn't attack
Right.
the enemies you really were trying to focus on. So they did adjust that. When I was first playing it, I'm like, I don't see much of a difference here. Well, it's actually a setting, and they actually, what's cool, I like they did this. They gave you the option to use any of the 2 or 3 different variations, including the way that it was at launch, if you really want to. You don't want to, but you can if you choose to. But yeah, I was kind of playing with that, and I'm like, yeah, this is in a way better state. And I was kind of like the world that it's in. It's called Mornstead. It's like set along the I think it's the body of like a dead giant or something like that. Like at one point you can reach out and see like actually his hand, like fingers like up like that, and it's kind of neat.
Sounds like God of War.
Yeah, kind of. Actually, I was going to compare it to the original Xenoblade Chronicles if anyone ever played that, because that's kind of what that does. But and then just little things here and there, but those have been the ones that I've been primarily playing.
Well, that's really cool. I've been always curious about the Lords of Fallen because I kept seeing it on Game Pass, and it's got that kind of very dark medieval gothic aesthetic, and I was like, oh, that looks pretty metal, and I loved metal Hellsinger, so maybe this would be another one that I could jump into of a different genre, but I haven't gotten a chance to really jump into it.
Yeah, I mean, if you like Souls games, which I think you told me in the past you did. Oh no, really? Okay. Well, if you don't like Souls games, you're not going to like it. But no, it actually is a cool setting. That's like the whole story deals with this dark god that's trying to be revived or something like that. And what's kind of cool is you can actually pick the direction you want to go. You can actually either help bring him back or you can help like banish him. So it's kind of neat. I don't know how much it changes things, but it is. You know, I assume
well, you unlock new class at each endings.
That's kind of cool.
Are you sure you're not thinking of Remnant?
Nope.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that in Lords of the Fallen.
There
I know
is
Remnant has that. But...
there is 3 classes to unlock. There are 3 endings. Yeah.
Very cool. That's awesome. Now, Chris has been waiting patiently, and Chris, I know, always dives into different games, sometimes just for an hour, sometimes you go back to them. Which ones have you been getting into this week?
Well, kind of already started saying it, but Prince of Persia, the Rogue Prince of Persia has been taking up a lot of my time recently. Just because like I feel like I haven't. I'm like you, look. I don't like these roguelike games, and I'm like, all right, let me give this a shot because I like the Prince of Persia franchise. I'm like, okay, the concept makes sense for this, so I was like, okay, let me try it. And of course, like I said, the soundtrack is amazing, so it was like it kept me going. But on top of that, I did play Hellblade 2, and had Luke on to talk about it on our episode, which drops tomorrow. And yeah, so
that was fun, by the way. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man, it was awesome to have you. And yeah, so like that was quite an experience. I actually even got a chance to play 33 Immortals, the beta with Silkenit.
Oh,
that was kind of cool.
How was that shaping
killed the boss.
Yeah, we killed.
We watched it die.
We watched it die because there were so many people. It was fun though. It was that's actually by the same people that did Spirit Fair, I think. From what I understand, right? So that was fun.
Way Forward, I think is who it is. Yeah, I think Way Forward is the one that's doing it.
Yeah, but and then what else? I guess I've had like a bit of a rogue like session going on too. I also played Have a Nice Death. That was a game by former Rayman people, like Rayman Legends people.
Yeah, that's ringing a bell. I have to look it up.
It's on Game Pass, and it looks really good. It looks really good. And yeah, that's pretty much it for recents.
I remember looking at this and thinking it looked cute.
Yeah, it's very well, like the animation on that is really good.
Yeah, I thought it reminded me of Billy and Mandy, if you guys ever
Yes,
watched that cartoon.
that's exactly what
back
I
in the
thought.
day. Yeah, reminds me of Billy and Mandy.
Yep.
Awesome.
Exactly that. So yeah, that's been the kind of games I've been kind of going through right now. So
That's really cool. Well, I'm glad you guys shared that.
I'm
Luke,
curious.
No, you don't get to. Nope. Okay, go ahead. I'm just kidding.
I'm
in
curious.
control of the show, so I get to decide like when he gets to do something.
It's true. It's true. And you're crushing it, by the way.
Did you want to have like some more pizza?
I will be finishing that. I will
Okay.
be finishing that.
I will
was
allow it. Go ahead.
Timing today has been wild, so I apologize. But as far as Hellblade 2, Rick, you put it down. I played through it twice for review purposes, but I am still extremely high on it. Chris, where did you land on it? And then anybody else, just please weigh in on Hellblade 2. I'd just love to hear that.
Yeah, I mean, I did end up going back and completing the game, and I really enjoyed my time with it. But like we talked about it on the episode, but I felt like it really wasn't a game, but more like a guided experience or whatever. And I'm okay with that. I thought it was really cool because again, they removed all the HUD, and it was just like you were just kind of there navigating Senua through this crazy thing. And then like, you know, on top of it all, like, you know, with Kevin's like whole theory, that was like, it blew me away. I was like, oh God, that makes total sense. But yeah, but it was a great experience. I don't know why there's so much hate on it, but
yeah,
you know,
that's fair. Rick, you said you bounced off pretty quick. Was it just not what your vibe was at the time, or did you just dislike it?
I didn't really bounce off of it so much as played so much Hellblade over that weekend. I'm like, yeah, this is going to wait for a little while. I finished the first chapter, which was all of a half hour.
Right.
And I was like, okay, I mean, there's no question. It's quite pretty. I do believe that's been a little bit overstated. I don't know how it looks later. I mean, it's gorgeous.
Tweak your HDR settings. That happened to me early on. That first like dark level. Once I switched to HDR bright, it helped.
It wasn't really so much that. It's just like, again, it looks good. I'm not saying it doesn't look good. I just don't think that it's just leaps and bounds above, say, Last of Us 2, which I think looks not quite as good. I mean, obviously, Hellblade runs at a native 4K, whereas I don't think Last of Us 2 does. But I just don't understand why Last of Us 2 is not ever considered in that conversation, because I think it looks insane. But anyway,
it's more they do more on the character models in action in combat.
yeah.
And like the cuts you can see on people and their facial expression during combat, because when you're walking, like it's like every other game, like on a small scope, you can ramp up the graphics so high anyway in any game.
But no, I mean, again, and the audio was good and all that, but it's just such a small sample. I was just like, yeah, I don't want to do this right now. I've had headphones on for 3 straight days or however long it was, but not that totally that long. Not to tell me that long to beat the game. Don't take it that way. It's just I was constantly, when I was playing it, I had headphones on, and I'm like, I don't feel like doing this right now.
I get that way too. Yeah.
I'll probably get back to it within the next couple of weeks or something like that. Probably pound through it in a weekend and then, decide there.
Fair.
But
that's really interesting. I always wonder sometimes if how much environments take into account artistic perspective when it comes to like the overall feel. Because like I think of like the most beautiful games I've ever seen. My mind usually goes immediately to like Sea of Thieves' water. But that's such a it's like for me that is my reference point. And everyone else has like a slightly different thing to always goes back to what you feel you resonate with. And sometimes one game can still be like an amazingly beautiful game, but for whatever reason, there's just not enough of what you prefer compared to other games that you've seen where you just say like, it's a lot of like, look at the review scores for a lot of these games and say like, okay, well, some people it didn't hit, some people it did hit. The people that it did hit, they tout it as like one of the best games this year. Other folks are like, it just wasn't as good as I felt like the first one was, kind of thing. And it's interesting where our experiences, we were just talking about it earlier, me and Luke, Godzilla -1. Thought it was a really good movie. Definitely recognized like what they were able to do with it. Didn't hit for me the way other Godzilla movies have, and I don't know why that was the case. But it's always interesting to kind of have these little group sessions, especially when we've all kind of played the same game, to kind of hear like different people's perspectives on it. And I really do appreciate that with you guys coming in, which is why I want to get into the next topic, the Xbox Showcase. It's coming up this weekend. It's going to be Saturday, 9 a.m., I believe. 9 a.m.? I think it's 9 a.m. No, 10 a.m.?
In fake time, I think it's 9 a.m., but in real time, I believe it's noon.
Okay, so in delusional Rick mind, it's noon, and it'll be 10 or 9 a.m. West Coast. So I'm looking forward to this. I really
right. That sounds early.
Doesn't it sound early? It feels like
I'll tell you.
It feels early. If only Xbox was good at marketing.
I think it's 10
for
a.m.
sure. Is it 10?
I think it's 1 p.m. EST.
Okay, so yeah,
So
that's
10.
10 a.m.
Yeah,
Pacific
9 doors
Standard.
open. Maybe pre-show
Oh.
coverage starts at 9. If I had to
Yeah,
guess,
that's what I saw. It could
that's
have
probably
been.
what it was. They
I
probably
don't know
are
why
gonna be-
9 was resonating for me, but yeah. So we're getting the showcase. We're getting the Call of Duty stuff afterwards. I'm very curious to kind of go down and hear what your guys's hopes and dreams are as far as like what you'd like to have. Not so much what you think we'll see, but what you would actually like to have. Like what would make the showcase actually like a 10 out of 10, nailed the thing that you were hoping the most for. So I actually want to go backwards as far as like order of appearance. So I want to start with Chris. If you have ideas on what you want to see from the showcase, that would just be like the perfect showcase for you. The thing that you've been waiting for that Xbox has talked about or hasn't talked about that you hope that they have there to kind of kick things off.
Replaced for me. That's the one game.
That's a good one. That's a good choice. We've been waiting on that for a while.
Yeah, I mean, because that took over for the last night. Was it? I think it was called the game before that, and that it was a very similar looking game.
Yeah,
like cyberpunk, like side scrolling style of game. And yeah, that's the one thing. And of course, what's the rare Everwild? Those two I would love to see. Those two I'd love to see. I don't know if it'll happen, but
yeah.
You said hopes and dreams, so
no,
and
that's
Hi-Fi
what
Rush
I want.
2, if that's possible too. But I don't.
Hi-Fi Rush 2. Okay, that would be pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Okay, so going into Xbox Showcase, Rick, you've got to have hopes and dreams, the games that you want to see come out and actually like just 10 out of 10. Wow, you think there's no way this could be topped by another year. What are you shooting for?
Well, I haven't thought that deeply into it, but I can come up with two specific things, and one I'm pretty sure is not going to be there. We'll start with that one. Would love to see whatever they call it, Metro 4. I love the Metro games.
Really?
They I love them, and they did reveal Exodus at was it 3 years ago? I don't remember what year it was, but so yeah, I'd very much like to see that. I know they're working on it. They actually have confirmed that, but I don't know if I think it's probably too early to reveal it. I'd love to see it. Even though I did like Exodus, I'd like to see it return to more of the linear, more underground aspect of the first two, because that's kind of the part about those I really liked.
Yeah.
The other one I can see being shown, maybe, but I'd like to see State of Decay 3, and I'd like to see it be a proper AAA something. I mean, maybe not to this level, but plays like Last of Us with, again, not that level. I get that.
Really?
But I'd love to see that, because I like the idea. And State of Decay 2 was fun, but it's still, I mean, it's very much AA. I'd like to see this be a full AAA, like it doesn't have to blow me away, but just really high quality looking characters, animations, gunplay, which, I mean, it wasn't too bad in the other one, but I don't expect that to be the case whatsoever, but I would very much like that to be the case. And I wouldn't mind seeing Gears 6, and I think we actually will see. But
yeah, I can definitely see Gears. State of Decay 3 being more like The Last of Us feels...
sorry. I don't mean taking away from like the base aspect. Like, I still want that. I'm just talking about the actual mechanical aspect of it being more along the lines of like The Last of Us.
Gotcha. Okay, that
Yeah,
was
yeah. No, I still specifically want what State of Decay is, which is like managing your community and stuff like that, because that's kind of what
cool.
makes it.
Cool.
That's kind of what makes it
Yeah.
unique.
Yeah, that was okay. So I was curious because I was like, everyone's just bagging on Hellblade 2 for not being God of War, and now you're saying you want a State of Decay that's like The Last of Us. I was like, bro, we can't go through this. We can't just keep comparing all the games that are coming to Sony titles, hoping that they'll hit that mark. I think it's a little too early too for some of these titles. Unfortunately, because I would love to see what a State of Decay 3 is. I love the scene like those kind of zombie games. The short amount of time that I've spent in State of Decay 2 was absolutely amazing, and I really love where they've taken that game. And I would love to have like a State of Decay 3 that is really high fidelity, has had the time to play test a lot of that stuff, given an opportunity. I don't know how their server systems would work out, if it would be better this time round. Be very interesting to see what they could do if they're going to go with what engine they'll go with, Unreal Engine 5 or something like that. And then Gear 6, yeah, 100%. I would love to see like the next iteration of Gears come to Xbox, really revive that franchise. Next, Silkenit. What do you got going on? What are your hopes? What are your dreams?
The obvious one would be a Silksong release date.
That's not
I'm
a
not
game.
expecting a shadow drop. It's more of a game than Perfect Dark. We at least saw gameplay of it. There's trailers for the game. They did from 2 years ago, but they exist. Yeah, so at least a date, even if it's on 2025. Just a date.
So help me out as a not Hollow Knight person. What is it about this franchise that is so worth the admiration that so many people have for it? The anticipation for this game has been insane, and the fact that we have been waiting for so long. I say we, the royal we, have been waiting so long for this game. Can the expectations can the expectations of what this game is going to be actually live up to it? Do you think that there's a chance that people are going to be measured and responsible with their reactions?
No, they won't. But it's the internet. But no, for one, we haven't been waiting for it that long. Like,
okay,
Hollow Knight is released on what, 2017?
Yeah,
I think.
So we got 7 years.
But by the time they kind of announced all the DLCs they did, and up to the Void Art edition, and then the Silksong, we hope about it maybe since 5 years ago.
Okay.
And it's a really small team. Team Cherry is not a lot of people. Yeah. I was thinking 3, but 5. Like,
something to remember about this too is this was actually originally the top tier stretch goal, because Hollow Knight was originally a Kickstarter game, and as they were making it, it was just supposed to be. I don't remember if it was if you played as Hornet originally or if that was changed, but as they were making it, they just kept building on it. So eventually they said, "Hey, this is going to be a separate release." It's almost like a 1.5 version of Hollow Knight. So that.
And I think the hype is warranted. Like Hollow Knight, everything in Hollow Knight is really tight and really well done. Like the music, the animation, the world building. The one thing they don't do really is a story, really. Like, you go around and you explore the world and you learn about it, but your own story is not really there.
It is there, but it tells it like Dark Souls. But if you actually look up, which I don't like either, but if you actually look up the lore of Hollow Knight is actually pretty interesting.
No, the lore and the world building is great, but your own personal story as the Hollow Knight, you just come in and
you're just a shell. That's why.
Yeah. And I think they're trying to rectify that in Silksong, because it's already a really well-known character you're playing as, with all our backstory, etc. So
That's it.
But no, the internet won't be measured or reasonable, and there's a reason why it's a meme now to ask for Silksong at every showcase.
Yeah.
And that's why the III, when they did their showcase, had on their little notes on the pre-show, like, no, there's no Silksong here.
Yeah. It's tough to try and get expectations set when it comes around this time. Let people know what's actually going to show up, what's not going to show up.
No. Apart from that, on the Xbox side, I would be excited for a Gears remake, a Gears collection, because I tried to play the Gears of War 1 remake that's available on Game Pass on my PC.
Yeah.
And I couldn't. Like the camera movements, always bobbing up and down, etc. It made me sick. Like physically, I had to stop.
Interesting.
I had nausea because of the game. Like I was like picking up like little collectibles, like the dog tags, and then the camera bobs with you and goes up, and
yeah,
that was too much.
It's always interesting going back to that game, and because I experienced the same kind of disconnect when I noticed like just how much the camera actually does like bob and move and weave whenever you're going around. And as far as I know, in the remaster, there was never an accessibility option that they put in to be able to remove that. But it was very much a stylistic choice, I think, that they made when doing that to try and get it to feel kind of like boots on the ground in the middle of a war.
Agreed.
Saving Private Ryan looking thing where you're like trying to breach the front of this kind of, you got locust nests everywhere popping up and grub holes and stuff, and it's just trying to really kind of ground you in the sense that you're right behind Marcus and stuff as you're kind of running around. But that is very much like a today thing. Very much would be like an accessibility option that someone would have that turned off.
Like at least when you're not in combat, when you're just ducking, like no need.
I think before the first came out, didn't Cliffy B, actually what you just said, Logan, didn't Cliffy B say that was the idea? And specifically because of the multiplayer aspect, they wanted to make it that it is hard to see what's going on when you're roadie running. Like they wanted to be like you're scrambling to cover, but it's really hard to see when someone's in front of you and stuff like that, because the idea is supposed to be just focus on what's, what you're trying to do. I get what you're saying. I'm just saying I think that was an artistic design.
It's that,
but if it is like I said, I'm not bashing on the game for that. It's just it's not for me in the state it is. I cannot physically play it. I'm not going to make me sick for a game.
Right. No.
It's not happening. So
that's the VR's biggest hurdle is trying to sell you a system that you have no clue whether or not you're going to get sick unless you have some sort of means of trying it out. And there's just not too many opportunities for that, especially in a post-COVID world.
And also, you really can't market what makes VR special until someone actually uses VR. So it's also that side of it too.
Yeah.
I wanted to note about Gears that if they are going to return to the Gears franchise with Gears of War 6, it'll be interesting to see whether they return to I'll use the word horror, the horror roots of Gears, that weighty feel of that first Gears, or if they keep the wide linear format that came with Gears 5, which I really liked the wide linear, but I liked more, I think, the darker tones of that first Gears game. I thought that was a pretty special experience. So how they choose to take the series in its direction, not to mention narrative choices, which I think are different questions that sound similar when it comes to the Gears franchise, because there are questions to be answered narratively about what happened in 5. But what they do with the gameplay, is it a dark, weighty, heavy version, or is it a more arcadey experience that you got in, say, Judgment and 4, and 5 as well? What they're going to do with this franchise is, to me, going to be a really interesting thing to just watch.
Well, with 5, you really did kind of get both, though. What was it called? The matriarch, the big berserker or whatever she was. That whole area was very reminiscent of the original game.
Agreed.
Like, I mean, they never really brought back like the krill or anything like that, but
which I loved. I love the krill.
Yeah, I did too. But so, and actually, I don't disagree with you. I would very much like to see more of the horror thing because I thought that's what made it unique. But I did actually quite like what they did with Gears 5. The only exception being the completely meaningless and pointless decision that you had to make at the end, which I think most people would agree was no good reason to do that. But outside of that, Gears 5 is probably actually my favorite campaign of the whole thing. I love Gears 5.
I was just curious, like, what they were going to do with that. Like, are they going to like take your save and like build the story in year 6 based on what your choice was at the end? Like,
I think they said that there's a canonical route. I think I remember hearing that somewhere, which at that point you never should have had the decision in the first place.
Right.
Well,
it should have just happened.
I mean, there's a difference between having a canonical ending and having your own ending. Cyberpunk very much showed me there are going to be canonical endings to that game. If they make a sequel, they have to make a choice based on how many endings there were. But that should not detract from the ending that you chose at the end of the game. And I think that agency can be very important and can be very defining for people. Look at Mass Effect, perfect example. There's a lot of choices that you have to make during that game. They may not be considered canonical for everyone, and as a result, it's going to detract from other people's experiences in sequels. But those choices do resonate with you when you make them, hopefully, with a lot of these games. So if they didn't take the route where they pull your save in from Gears 5, because they really can't, you can't always bet on that, especially with a franchise that is so far removed from the previous version. You kind of have to start off with a new story and just kind of make your characters available, but not necessarily tie it directly into what your play save is, because otherwise you're forcing people to start off the game and be like, hey, do you want this person like this, or do you want this person like that? Or, not to like give away the endings for 5 and stuff, but at least like, do you want to start it this way or do you want to start it the other way? And having people make a choice that they have no context of rarely ever works in my experience, because it just does not, you never connect with the characters the way you do is if you had actually gone through and played 5. So making a fresh story tends to be the safest route to go, especially if you look at games that have long lasting franchises like the Gears or Halo franchises.
All you do at the start of Gears 6 is you replay that very last spot, or like visually the non-canon version starts to happen, and then the canonical living person there wakes up and says, I wish it could have been that way. And then you move on and done. You just move on.
Another route. Sorry.
Oh, please go ahead.
I was saying another route you could take, when Logan was saying that, I thought of this. You could actually even do what CD Projekt Red did with Witcher, because don't forget, if you played Witcher on PC, those saves did transfer through.
Yep.
However, being is that most people that played Witcher 3 either didn't play it on PC or didn't play the old ones at all, there is a default world state that it begins at if you don't transfer those saves in. So you could always do that, like Joe Schmo is alive, whereas Billy Bob is dead, even though in your, it just defaults to that. But if it sees it, hey, you played Gears and whichever one I said the other way around, then it could just make it like, okay, you kept this person alive. Okay, we'll run with that version. But that does seem like depending how much people are in this game, in the next game, that seems like a lot of work for something that, frankly, they would have to assume a lot of people probably aren't even going to see. But right. CD Projekt Red did the same thing. And I mean, I would argue that with Witcher, the way that that story went across the trilogy, there was probably a whole lot of things that most people never saw just because of that.
Yeah. I think the kicker with Witcher is that the world building and the character building along the way, like the side quests and stuff that you do and throughout that game, were rich enough that it wasn't as much of a detriment, because it didn't have to necessarily like live and breathe off of the past iterations of 1 and 2 to really kind of keep that world alive. Like it stood on its own ground because it took its own story with new characters and new areas and stuff that didn't rely so heavily. So if you had the background of The Witcher from either the books or the games, it was cool to have that experience, but it wasn't. You could still go through The Witcher and enjoy all of it because they had thought so thoroughly through with all of the quests and making those their own independent stories and stuff. So I knew a buddy that actually went through and started on Witcher 1 and then went to 2 and then eventually jumped into 3 with all of his decisions and stuff. And he really enjoyed it. I don't know that anyone would want to, if you're excited for Gear 6 because of what you see, it would be interesting to hear those that hadn't played Gears 5, if they were like, how far do they go back? And to Silkenit's point, Gears 1, even the remaster still has issues. Not that everyone's going to be able to get past. And then also, how do you address like all of the, like, are you going to go all the way 1 through 3 and then jump into Judgment and then go into 4 and 5? Or do you just, you leave out Judgment and don't worry about that side of their story? Or, it's interesting to kind of like, how far back down the rabbit hole do you go? Do you just watch a video? Like if it's Destiny 2 and it's Bife making a 10-hour long video about the history of Gears of War, or something like that. Like, where do you go?
So you are aware of the My Name is Bife video that he released this week?
Yes. Yeah. Very much so.
Yeah. Well, they could do like a Master Chief collection. What was the name? Yeah, was it
the Marcus Phoenix collection?
Yeah, Marcus Phoenix collection.
No, like they did for Halo. Like you have one hub.
Oh,
yeah,
you had it right, Master Chief. Yeah.
One hub. You have all the games, and you just enjoy the ride.
I think if you're gonna you do that if you're gonna have an Unreal Engine up, like it's up to the next Unreal Engine, and or you're coming to PC, because otherwise the back compat services that. Hey, look at that. Host, you got this.
That is not the right one. It keeps moving up. Shout out. We got a $2.79 Canadian dollars, which is worth like $10, I think, in America. Or is it the other way around?
Yeah, it's the other way around.
The other way around? Okay. We won't address that. We got a great shout out to Chris 1H1D from Game Positive. Really awesome. Love the support. Thank you so much for passing that along to us. I completely just blanked.
It's okay.
The idea of a Marcus Phoenix collection, if it should be on PC, if it would be Unreal Engine updated, or do the back compat program, which has FPS boost and HDR, and does that serve? And I think you do a collection if you're upping that engine. That's when you do it.
I agree.
Oh, I think it would be really awesome if they had learned kind of how to use Unreal Engine 5, and all this time has been spent taking all of the first 5 Gears games and just bringing them into Unreal Engine, building out all the assets, so that way they could just re-release like the entire collection. I guess
that'd be sick. Yeah,
you could just do just the Marcus Phoenix collection 1 through 3. Do you include Judgment?
I think so, because in 5, half the game was about stuff that happened in Judgment.
Yeah.
So I really,
great.
I actually did not like Judgment. I'd like to see them fix it up and bring it more in line with the other ones, but the story definitely matters to that lore. So I do believe you need to. That's probably the one that needs that, and 1 needs the most work for sure.
I think Judgment is great because it exists in the Gears Pantheon. Gears players can play it, but it's not the same experience. Similar to how ODST exists for the Master Chief Collection. It's still Gears, it's still Halo, but it is a departure from the standard narrative. That's what I liked.
Well, it's not the narrative I had an issue with, because I like the narrative. I didn't. The game just felt way different than regular Gears, and I did not.
I mean,
like
it was a different studio. It's interesting that you bring that up, because I never railed too much against, and this was, I mean, I played 1 through 3 and jumped right into Judgment afterwards. And the only major issue that I had with it was we were working on the challenges, and that was frustrating because those detracted from the actual gameplay. But overall, I would say that I still really enjoyed not only the story, as far as like going back to the the trial to kind of see the different perspective. I always thought of it as like Lion King and then Lion King 1.5. It was always kind of funny to have that kind of other side of the story from like Baird and them's perspective. But I never really railed against the combat or anything. It always kind of felt like Gears. I mean, it was people
the
can
shooting
fly.
just felt different to me, so that's why I didn't really like it that much.
Interesting.
But again, I did like. I mean, Baird was always probably my favorite character, so I liked.
He's the best.
Baird. I loved Baird. I did like that you were playing as him, and then I forget his name, but I did like the Russian-esque guy who you were working with, the guy from the whatever they were called, the opposing faction.
Oh yeah,
right.
What was his name? I can't remember.
Normally I remember, but I'm blanking right now.
Yeah, because you actually encounter him in Gears 5.
Yep.
And that's why I was like, oh, that whole second
again.
That whole second open area is one giant reference to Gears Judgment, basically.
So, Gear 6 or Marcus Phoenix Collection, Luke, you're going to be going there, so you've kind of got a little bit of a hint about some of the stuff that's going to be available. Is there anything that you would want to see in your dream world that would be like 10 out of 10? This show absolutely nailed it. And why is it got to be Godzilla based?
I did get new kaiju. I'm pretty excited about it.
Of course you did. Of course you did. You sweet baby boy. I love how easy you are to please.
I know. So I've been getting this question a lot, and I go back to the idea that really what I want is people to be excited about Xbox as a brand. In this showcase, we're going to get updates to a lot of what it is that Xbox has over the next year and a half. We know we're going to get COD, which I think is a great get. We know we're going to get Doom as a result of some pretty substantial and substantiated leaks. That's pretty darn amazing. You're very likely to see updates on Avowed and Indiana Jones because they're this year. That's awesome. You have to think Fable's going to make an appearance. I'm really anxious to see because after having played Hellblade, I believe them now that was gameplay. I don't necessarily know that I like that at gameplay, but like I want questions answered about Fable because I don't know if that game is for me. Do we see an appearance of State of Decay 3? It's been a while. I love State of Decay. See, I am of the mind that right now Sony has done a better job with its IP, but I prefer Xbox IP almost en masse. Like almost all of the Xbox IP speak to me. Gears, Forza, Halo, State of Decay. I love them. The fact that now in a presentation we get to celebrate COD and Doom and Fallout and see what's next for some of these franchises is really cool. I'd love to see a tease for what it is Toys for Bob is doing. Like, yes, it's time and away. I don't think we'll see that tease. But
no, I think they said they won't be there for the
right.
Fest.
Yes, but like, do they have a cheeky reference during or after? I don't know.
I just want.
Yeah, in my dreams of like my dream of dreams, we get the next Gears. We get a Rogue Squadron game. Titanfall 3 makes an appearance, and for God's sakes, Rocksteady says, "Hey, our bad. Here's a brand new Arkham collection. All your achievements. We fixed some of the lighting issues in the HDR. Here you go, and we're making a new Batman game." And by the way, Luke Lohr, we're talking to you. Superman Man of Steel is in production. And I'll say, hey, you know what? Handshakes all around. Thank you.
That's a pretty good lineup.
There.
I do not think
Final Fantasy on Game Pass.
There you go. Yeah. I don't think I see game positive. I don't think Perfect Dark is relevant in this showcase. I think that's either show it at Game Awards because it's just that impressive, or it needs to cook. Because right now, Gears to me is more likely, again, a month ago, I would have said something different. Gears to me is more likely at Game Awards. It's Cleef Adams' fault.
It was a really good point, though. It was like he made a really good point.
It was an excellent, but it was annoyingly logical.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, you mean I have to settle for Doom and Call of Duty at the game? Okay, like so. Fine by me, no problem. And Krista, I appreciate you liking Godzilla. I also love Godzilla.
No, encouraging him.
Got all my figures right here.
It's fine. I got all my figures on my back wall, so I got nothing. And Rick has nothing to talk about either. Chris, I know I see some stuff over there too. Can't hide it. Silkinet's the only one that won't show his background.
Well,
No.
I have some.
Oh, sure.
They're
Yeah.
just not behind me.
Yep. No, I believe you.
I'll send you a
100%,
picture in
buddy.
Discord.
Krista can tell you there's more back there than you think there is.
Nice.
There's a whole lot you can't see in there.
So I personally, I'm gonna give a couple little things that I would love to see. First and foremost, I would love it if we got like a Sea of Thieves 2, where it was a completely new zone. It was all on Unreal Engine 5, completely new islands, new ship types, varied, more optimized ships to be able to have different stuff. A lot of what I've seen through like Skull and Bones is kind of the stuff that I would love to see brought over to Sea of Thieves, but maintaining like kind of the Sea of Thieves feel and stuff. It's hard to say if we'll ever see this happen, but I would also like to see the next Halo Infinite storyline. I was always really bummed when they said that they were going to be taking people off of the story team for Halo. I think Infinite did a great job of rebooting the characters and the story for me, and I really wanted to see more of Zeta Halo. I really wanted to know like what was going to be going on that ring. There were so many people that talked about how lackluster the fact that we only had like one biome, and so many more people wanted to explore more of that biome or more different biomes in that game. So I would love to have a return to form to Master Chief and his story with the pilot and with Cortana, and just be able to live a little bit more in that world, because I think the gameplay, I think that the tools that they have are beautiful. I thought they did a really, really good job with it, especially given the year's delay and the subsequent work that they put into the multiplayer. And I just want them to continue on with that world, with that story. Outside of that, it's going to be kind of tough for me, because obviously like the other stuff I would probably want are more third party. But I would love to see Cyberpunk 2078. I know it's way too early for that kind of a concept, but the sequel to Cyberpunk is definitely something like on my mind right now. Like I would love to have something more in that world. The fact that we had of the 2 DLCs, only one actually come out, and given how good Phantom Liberty was, that team is comfortable. And they finally stopped working on it. They finally stopped kind of putting more effort into 2077. And I know that they want to work on 2078. And I'm ready for it, because I think that they've really understood what's working with Cyberpunk now that they've gotten Phantom Liberty out. And I want to see what they can do when they take that forward with a new story, either a new character or to pick a canonical ending for V and see where that goes, especially after Phantom Liberty. So those have been kind of the things that I would love to see. That would make it a 10 out of 10 showcase for me. Given kind of where we're at time wise, I wanted to open it up to you all to kind of see like if there were some topics that you wanted to bring up this week that you wanted to share with everyone, give some spotlight to something. If not, we're pretty much good at this point. So does anybody have anything that they wanted to bring up that they wanted to talk about?
I'm good.
You're good. Silkinet, you got anything?
I'm good.
Okay. Rick, how about you?
June's going to be as busy as May. Like there's a lot of games coming out.
Yeah.
2024 is not stopping.
That's true.
I don't have too much to really say there, but on Spreading the Nerd, we talked about the PlayStation Showcase because it had aired, I believe, the day before, and just wonder what you guys thought, because to say I didn't think too highly of it would be a bit of an understatement. I thought it was pretty piss poor, to be quite frank.
Interesting. Okay. I'll I'll kind of kick it off. I honestly thought Concord looked really good. I have a lot more faith in it than I do Marvel's Rivals. Some of the other games that were shown, definitely good highlights for what's coming out this year. I think that the VR showcase that they put out was really good. I thought that the titles that they've got coming to PSVR are interesting, compelling to me as someone who's like into VR, especially the fact that they just announced the $60 adapter to be able to use your PSVR for like Steam VR titles now. Definitely a lot more value in that. I'm glad that they're still putting some effort into VR. Astrobot, it's a win. It's a huge win for me. I think that they really nailed what was fun with the demo that they had for the PS5. And if they can make that into like a full-fledged game that isn't trapped on VR, I think they've got themselves an amazing mascot now in Astrobot. I think they just need to let that team cook and let them kind of have some fun with it. I wouldn't say it was the greatest state of play that we've seen, but I think it hit enough titles to give PlayStation fans something to look forward to this year. It's just a shame that a lot of those tended to feel very similar as far as genre goes. But that's kind of what I was thinking. Anybody have any thoughts that they wanted to come away with from that?
Well, I will agree with you on Astrobot. That was almost unquestionably the highlight of the show. Like you said, I really liked was it Playroom? Was that the name of the pre-installed one? And actually, the VR one on PS4 was actually really good. I was talking to Clinton, said actually I don't know why they never managed to port that off of VR, because that definitely could have. I mean, VR was the idea in terms of like leaning around corners to look and stuff like that, but you still could have figured out a way to make that work on a standard television, and they never did for some reason. But I do agree that I think he's a better mascot for them than like Sackboy ever was, because there's so much more you can do with Astrobot.
Yeah.
And then, but outside of that, the only things that I really was interested in was I keep forgetting the name of it, that Where Winds Meet or something like that. That actually looked kind of cool.
Yep.
And then there was that one that Clint and I both agreed looked really good. I don't remember the name of it now.
Ballad of Antara.
What is it?
Ballad of Antara.
Yeah. Yes, that. Until after the fact, we read the write-up for it, and it said it's a free-to-play game with gacha elements, and I was like, okay, that's an absolute zero interest from me now. And then Monster Hunter looked good, but that was nothing new. We just saw new gameplay, but that was announced I think it was at the Game Awards last year.
Yeah.
But other than that, I think it's pretty slim pickings from Sony right now, and it's to the point they should be having almost everybody having something to show by now. It's getting pretty desolate at this point on the PS5, and it's kind of frustrating.
Yeah, I was a bit higher, I think, that on it than you, because I think more games were for me. There was Path of Exile 2, Infinity Nikki, looks cute and fun. Astrobot is, but my problem was it's a lot of games that are not coming out this year. It's Astrobot and God of War, but it's just a PC version. All the rest is either PSVR 2, so you need to be in it already, or in development for the PS5, like Where Winds Meet. Like, it's not even coming out next year. If they can't even say 2025 and they just say in development. Monster Hunter, we know it's next year. They said it at the Game Awards. They re-said it here. So it's a slim year for them. I was expecting a bit more meat on the second half of 2024, but they didn't really deliver on that.
Well, it's not like we don't have titles that are going to be showing up there. They just weren't on this showcase, because we know
but
anything.
I mean, but you need to show them if you have them.
True. Which then kind of goes to the question is who does have the marketing rights, or have they even started trying to market it? Because, like Luke has mentioned, he's going to be playing Outlaws at the Xbox showcase, which means to me, at least, that they've got the deal for Ubisoft this year. And if that's the case, It doesn't mean necessarily that PlayStation won't have any titles, because they'll still have a lot of that third-party content, but they just don't have the marketing to be able to kind of show off what is going to be still showing up on their systems.
I wonder if that means Shadows is Sony's marketing then. The Ubisoft seems like they tend to try to give a little bit to everybody. So Outlaws and Shadows are obviously their two big titles here. So if Microsoft has Outlaws, then I assume PlayStation must have Shadows.
Yeah,
I mean they're going to be identical. It's just who has the marketing rights to them.
Yeah, pretty much. All right, Chris, did you have any thoughts on the showcase?
I watched a little bit of it, but I was like, okay, this is fine, but yeah, nothing really like got me super excited. But I mean, the only thing, because I am a Marvel fan, like Marvel Rivals did look cool, especially with the destructible environments and stuff like that, and then the cooperative moves and stuff that they were saying that were going to happen. So I was like, oh, cool. And yeah, Astrobot was fun. I feel like, why don't they lean into like having more of those kind of that style of game more? I don't know. I mean, maybe it's just they're just dealing with remasters upon remasters. I don't know, but that's
they are kind of lacking on the family games,
right?
Well,
I think everyone is.
To be fair.
Yeah. I think everyone except for Nintendo is right now, and I think Nintendo's the only thing they know how to make.
Yeah, but I mean, there's a lot of I posted in Discord like the result of the ESA survey they're doing every year, and a lot of parents are gaming with their kids to have times with them.
Yeah.
So you're not losing doing a family game.
Right.
I think where kids are kind of playing are in titles that are currently available. Roblox, Fortnite, things like that. There hasn't really been as much of a draw or focus on kids games that aren't being served by titles that are already out, or Nintendo in this case. And I'm sure Luke would love to pipe in about how kids are only playing on mobile right now. So console games requiring family titles aren't quite as big of a sellers as other titles in the teen and mature rating. Right, Luke?
It's true. I hate it, but it's true. I mean, it's just the reality. So,
but you're not selling the game to the kids. You're selling the game to the parents that wants to game.
This is the problem. We pay for services that don't have advertising, so the whole like buying games for action figures and stuff, and TV shows that have action figures and games and tie-ins, all of that's gone now. I love Nissa's comment here about Little Kitty Big City is a family game as well too.
I agree, but it's indie third party.
Sorry.
It's not Astrobot, which will be first party with all the Sony character you can think of.
Yeah, which is, I mean, kind of goes back to we're making a family game about characters that are in teen and mature rated games.
Yeah, but
well, not about, but have that reference.
You remove the blood.
Yeah, it's interesting that that it's something that we would consider a family game, but a lot of the history, a lot of Astrobot is celebrating the history of PlayStation, which if you're a kid, probably doesn't mean a whole lot. I don't know, weird random thought that I had.
No, it's a pure nostalgia game.
Yeah. Which
is
we've
people
learned,
like us, we played on since PlayStation 1, and we know all the references.
Yeah,
just like all the crazies that want Banjo-Kazooie back. The only reason you could want that back would be for nostalgia purposes.
So I'm gonna throw this to Luke real quick because I have to understand based on feedback. Indiana Jones is old, dated. It's for the olds. The kids don't care about it. Do they need to come up with like an Xbox version of Astrobot to bring in like games like Indiana Jones to make it relevant, or is Fortnite good enough? And you're just not admitting that Indiana Jones is relevant.
Indiana Jones is not relevant. If Xbox had anything like Astrobot, I would love it. I thought they missed an opportunity with Super Lucky way back when.
Yeah.
that was a pretty cool, appropriate mascot, the game that could have kind of stood as a pillar. That said, they're sitting on multiple mascots now. They could do it if they want to. It seems like they're going to use second party to make their mascot stuff. So we'll see. But I mean, a Spyro, a Super Lucky, a Banjo, that might be great marketing for Game Pass. You put that on Saturday morning on your Nickelodeon stuff, and you've got colorful, bright character that parents are cool and happy with, and the kid sees it, and maybe that's a way to get them in.
Yeah.
But Astrobot looks dope. I don't care what anyone says.
Maybe they can use Kazuma Kiryu as the mascot now that Amazon Prime's on the Yakuza show.
No.
I don't think that quite work, but I'm still gonna watch that show because Fallout was dope.
Maybe they're going to do something with Minecraft and the movie they're doing and Jack Black.
They might, but I bet you
That's
they
true.
keep that multi-platform. I doubt they sell Xboxes with that.
Oh yeah,
It's
always
funny that-
money for Xbox.
Yeah,
fair.
100%. It's always funny to me that that there's a Minecraft movie with Jack Black, because I remember I can't think of the name, but there was a Minecraft book that came out that I'm pretty sure they did the audio version for it as well. And I'm trying to remember. It was like Max. I can't think of the name, his last name, but he's like the son to Mel. Max Brooks, I think is his name, because he's son to Mel Brooks. Wrote a Minecraft book for his son, and I'm pretty sure that Jack Black did the audio book version for that. But yeah, it's very, very interesting state of play overall. I think a lot of folks did I miss anyone, by the way? Did anybody? No, Chris, we did get your thoughts on it. You enjoyed the Marvel Rivals because you like the destructible environments and the combo moves, which I honestly don't blame you for, because it's something that does, it's a differentiator from Overwatch 2 right now. And Overwatch 2 struggling with some stale content. Their latest venture with a new character, Venture, is actually pretty good, but I think a lot of folks are still kind of like in the meh mode for how that game is and if it's good or not. Trying to think if there was anything else about the state of play. We have Gogol Poe in chat saying that it was a trash state of play except for Silent Hill 2. Did any of you guys play Silent Hill 2 when it originally came out?
Oh yeah, Silent Hill 1, 2, and 3 were some of the best survival horror games ever made.
I didn't think it was a bad state of play. I didn't think it was a good state of play next to Showcase season when you've got Summer Game Fest a week out and Xbox Showcase a week out. But I didn't think it was a bad state of play. I do agree with Cheeseworks saying that Concord's going to flop. And I'm not wishing that on it, but like a hero shooter with non-licensed characters that people are unfamiliar with, that's super derivative of Guardians of the Galaxy. It just feels so strange. It feels like Foam Stars. It doesn't matter how good it is. I don't think anyone's going to catch in.
I disagree with you on this, though.
I'm not rooting against it. Again, I really stand by, like, I'm not rooting against it. I'm stoked for Marvel Rivals, but like, you're going to tell me I can play that game with characters that I don't know? I don't know.
I think you guys are missing the magic that is that game, and that's going to be the combat and the story. They've got weekly story mission or story cinematics that are going to come out to develop the characters. That was something that people loved, by the way. Nobody cared who characters were in Overwatch, but you watch one of those Blizzard cinematics and suddenly you're like, no, I love Tracer. I love Widowmaker. I love Winston. Winston is big old love character that everyone just loves. You know, like everyone wants to be Reaper. Everyone loves Cassidy. Like, those cinematics made those characters into the characters that everyone just absolutely adores. So, and you look at the pedigree of the studio that's working on Concord, they know how to do story. They've been doing it for years. They're ex-Bungie devs. They know how to shoot guns. They know how to make guns feel good. They're people that worked on Destiny for years who grew up with that Halo pedigree. I guarantee you Concord's actually going to be a lot of fun. If it's not, then something happened that you just cannot predict because by all rights, the people making that game know how to do the two things that game is going to do well, which is story and gunplay.
But is there really much of a market for another hero shooter? I'm not convinced there really is.
Trust me, there are a lot of people right now who love hero shooters that are trying out the Ubisoft game that came out recently, the one that's like X-Defiant. There's a lot of people bored with Overwatch 2 right now, but that is a game that is unlike any other game, and a lot of people want to play that style of game. It's not like we're sitting here with a battle royales, guys. There's not like 18 billion hero shooters out there. We've got like Overwatch 2 and maybe a couple others. The market is ripe.
We'll see. I don't know if I agree with you, but we'll see.
Name me 3 other hero shooters.
No, I'm not disagreeing with
Marvel
that part.
Rivals.
I'm just saying I just don't know if there's going to be, if it's going to get a market. I don't think it will.
Look,
an audience,
it was 2008's Game of the Year. You tell me Overwatch isn't got some formula that works. You give me characters that I love, and you build cinematic story, and you start building that up. Trust me, if it can work for Blizzard, it can work for the ex-Bungie devs as well too.
But Blizzard also tends to have fans that will buy and play basically anything they make just because it's them at the same time. So it started with an audience that Concord is not going to start with.
No, but that doesn't mean anything when you have fresh characters and new story. And I'm putting this up as far as like, Bungie doesn't care about the Crucible. Same thing with Concord. Different devs. Same pedigree of quality, but the people that are working on Bungie and don't care about Crucible are not the people that are still at the studio making a game dedicated to PvP. You can't tell me they don't care when the game they're making is PvP. All right. Looking for other stuff in chat.
I think we're good.
I think that's it. Okay. All right, folks. Any other little things we want to jump into before we get out?
I don't like anything.
This is a blast.
Chance.
This is a
Last
blast.
chance. Awesome. All right. Well, that is going to do it for this. I like to go around and kind of check in with people. So, Luke, I know what you're doing, so I'm not going to ask you. But Silken, is there anything that you're doing that you want to call out or shout out for folks that might be interested?
Not really.
Okay.
No,
Well,
check out like Spreading the Nerd and Chris, the 1 hour stream he does, because it's a cool concept.
Yeah.
Like for working adults that don't have too much time to play.
Definitely.
It's a more open-minded approach that a lot of people in gaming have.
Yeah, definitely appreciate it. Also, make sure you guys, if you have any questions, I know that we talked a lot about Nine Souls with SOLS today. Make sure you guys definitely give that a look if you can, because I know we talked a fair amount about that today. Rick, have you got anything going on that you wanted to shout out or point people towards to take a look at it before we head out?
Well, as I mentioned earlier on the show, last week I was on Spreading the Nerd, which is Clint from our Discord's podcast. If I'm understanding correctly, I believe I'm on that show now, so I believe we're recording on Friday. Nice. So come check us out. We did that one live. I think we're going to do this one live as well. It's not a preset time or anything like that, but keep an eye on that. I believe Silken, you can say, isn't it just YouTube Spreading the Nerd? Okay. I think that's what the channel's called. So yeah, give us a shout out. It's a new thing. He only did 2 episodes and then one with me, so we're kind of figuring out as we go, but he and I have a pretty good rapport back and forth, I think. So we're gonna see how it goes.
Fantastic. I definitely appreciate that. And last but not least, Chris 1H1D. Oh, before I do that, I just saw that this coming in from Todd Oxtra, $5 super chat. How about a mascot race game or racing game like Crash Team Racing, but with goofy versions of Doom Guy, Master Chief, and Banjo? Can we get a mascot racing game announced for the showcase? What would you guys think?
I'd play it.
Not interested. That's not my type of thing at all.
I'd play it.
If Isabel from Animal Crossing is there with a Doom Guy. Yes.
I mean, Doom does have goofy versions of Doom Guy in it. The little action figures you find.
Yeah.
Thank you, Todd, by the way. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. Chris, you want to play a kart racer with mascots?
Well, isn't there like a game coming out with like 60 players or something like that? It's kind of like a racing
Oh
game.
yeah. I don't remember the name, but yeah.
It's kind of like a battle royale, but just like with cars instead. I don't know. Maybe
That sounds really awesome, actually.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Chris, I know you've got content that you make, so tell everyone where they can find that content and kind of the premise behind it, because I know Silkenet did a good job with the pitch, but you're the one that actually makes it. So what do you got going on?
Well, like I mentioned earlier, tomorrow we're dropping a new episode with Luke on for our review on Hellblade 2. And the concept again is Tom and I, my co-host, will play a game for an hour on Xbox Game Pass, generally a random game, and then we give it a go and decide if that game's worth the time past that hour or not. And we try to make it as balanced as possible in terms of like, we don't try to just crap on a game just because. Like we'll try to look for the good and the bad in it. And there's Todd with the notebook thing. We drop our episodes every Wednesday on all podcasting platforms. Again, the show's called 1 Hour, 1 Decision, 1H1D. And we also have it on YouTube as well on the Quit the Build channel. So that's and of course, like Todd mentioned, we have a notebook that we make. It's off Amazon. Is super cheap. It's just like a Game Pass logging notebook, and it's just kind of what we're doing. Yeah, there you go.
That was
Luke's got one too.
I have it.
Have a Nice Desk was one of the few that you did the hour for, and then ended up coming back to it.
Yeah, we did. I just kind of went back. I was like, all right, let me see if I can get past my dislikes for roguelikes. And I played it a little bit longer. I was like, it just felt like I was just constantly hitting that wall.
Mm-hmm.
But like for some reason it just I feel like with roguelikes I tend to try to play them more if there's someone like motivating me to play it more.
Yeah.
So like that's what I've been doing recently. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, guys, thank you so much for jumping in. I appreciate having you. I appreciate your support. It's 100% all going to help Luke with his trip, and after that, who knows where it's going to go to? Probably
Paying off the trip.
Godzilla figures. Realistically, let's be honest here. Really appreciate everyone that was sitting in chat and hanging out with us. Really appreciate the comments that you guys shared, especially the super chats. Thank you so much to Todd Oxtra for bringing in the $5, as well as Game Positive for the shout out to Chris 1HD or 1H1D in chat as well too. Definitely appreciate you all hanging out with us. We are going to be doing the live reaction to the Xbox Showcase on Sunday morning in the West Coast, afternoon on the East Coast. So make sure you come back here, subscribe, make sure you get those notifications turned on, so that way when I go live, you guys can help support me in doing the live reactions. I can't wait to sit down and kind of see what's going on with the showcase this year. It's going to be awesome. So thank you everyone for hanging out. I definitely appreciate it. And that should be it. Bye.
Thanks, guys.
See you.